Hello everybody and welcome to the War Room. This one is for the Glory 78 co-main event, I guess. I mean, there are three. There's a headlining bout with Belgaroui and I've been practicing. Vorosek. I think that's right. Vorosek. And then we've got three championship bouts, two of which I'll be covering on War Rooms. The other one is Pereira against Vakitov, which is positioned as the co-main event. This is the one before that. This is for the vacant middleweight championship between Donovan Wisse and Yousri Bulgari. So the number 1 and number 2 ranked middleweights in Glory. They are both absolutely electric. And what I like about the two top championship bouts on the card is that they're both rematches. So they've already spent time in there. Pereira Vakitov was 5 rounds. Wisse against Bulgari was 3 rounds, which I think would look different over 5 rounds. You know, the fight was just starting to get really interesting. Wisse was starting to slow down a little bit. You know, Belgaroui was starting to come on a bit stronger. So you've got to think over 5 rounds, it might be a different fight altogether. I'll start there. Might as well. We'll start right at their first fight. I've got a few clips to show you today, but both of these fights, as I said, they start with they're going to start with the first fight. And this was a fight of kind of a fight of two halves, but unfortunately for Belgaroui, he was a bit too far behind already over 3 rounds. So what you'll see from Wisse is like a lot of like sideways movement. He'll slip side to side and he'll try and slip inside and counter and then start chopping with those outside low kicks. That's problematic for Belgaroui because he's a long range fighter. You know, he's tall, he's rangy, he likes a jab, he likes knees up the center line. So what he found eventually was instead of standing just inside the punching range and getting caught with those shots over the top, he was either all the way out or all the way in. And he started to actually kind of play the range a bit better. But Wisse just walked him down, hit him with really good shots all the way through the first round, chopped into his lead leg over and over again, bruised that lead thigh up. But, you know, as I said, Belgaroui started to come on a bit stronger towards the end of the first round. And I just feel like, I think some of the judges may have scored the round for him, but I just feel like Wisse, even though he didn't land as many shots, he came on stronger. That was one thing I did want to pick up on. Because this was a really nice, well, there are 2 counters here. So what Belgaroui realised is that Wisse was really committing to this right hand. There's a couple of things this is what I'm talking about, and we're in the last 45 seconds of the round. So this is where Belgaroui's, he's been pushed around a bit. Wisse's, kind of started to add a bit of damage to his frame, beat up that lead leg, etc., etc. But Belgaroui's now starting to be a bit responsive to what's coming at him. So watch this. Wisse is going to commit. He's going to slip the jab. Like I said, he does a lot of good head movement, and you're going to see this regularly in his fights. Especially when he's fighting someone taller like he is here. I mean, there, a couple of inches difference? 3 inches. So Belgaroui's 3 inches taller at 6'5", which is amazing for a 185er. Think about that. So Belgaroui's committed to a jab. Wisse slipped to the outside and he comes over the top, but look at Belgaroui, reads it, and he's just out of the way of it, tries a long counter hook, and a straight right. Neither of them land very, very well, but the good thing is that he's starting to recognize that pattern that Wisse is slipping to the outside, coming over the top, and he's getting out of the way. And he's thinking of counters already, even though that one didn't work. Watch this next clip. This is an alternative. Waits. Feints the jab to get Wisse to react with the overhand. Look, you can see Wisse swinging that. But this time Belgaroui is going to shift his weight over and kick him across the body with the back leg. Bang. I mean, that's just like, and look at the time, we're 15 seconds. Like in the space of 45 seconds, that's 2 different counters to the overhand that he's worked already. So like, he's adapting quick. And this is what I've noticed just generally across the kickboxing roster. The Glory roster has got some absolute superstars on it, and people aren't yet quite realizing how talented they are. And I'm going to try and help some of you understand, because it's a lot of people miss these finer details. And when a fight is 3 3-minute rounds, it's a short period of time for guys to really be impactful with something. So you tend to see they adapt very quickly. They try things very quickly. The pace is much higher. And then when it's a championship round, you've got 5 3-minute rounds. It's the same kind of thing, but now they can play a bit more of a longer game. Belgari's already adapting here in the first round is the point that I'm making. He's testing and he's trying things and he's getting his head out of the way. Look, that counter lands. It's lovely. Straight through the guard. Let's have a slow-mo. Bang. And then he crashes in with knees. You know, the benefit of being a taller fighter is that you're going to reach them with knees before they can reach you. And they're a good way of negating someone that's a good power puncher, especially someone with good head movement like Wisse. So that was the first round. I mean, we've already learned so much. The thing is, now I feel like there are a few things that Belgari's working. He's trying to work that counter to the overhand. But Wisse's already invested a lot of work in that lead leg, which is why that happened. Because, and what you'll see from, there's a better angle of it in the replays, but what you'll see, Belgari throws the punch, and as he sees the hip movement of Wisse, it's like he braces that lead leg to take a kick, steps, and then braces the lead leg, and the kick comes right over the top of his shoulder. It's a lovely setup, especially given the fact that he'd already invested heavily in that lead leg. So here we go. You'll see. It's like he kind of leans into it and braces because he's expecting the kick to go to his leg. There it is. That's a better shot. You can kind of see it a bit more. Oh, steps, and then he turns his leg out. Look. You see what I'm saying? He like turns his leg into the kick as if he's going to hit it and it's going to ride up his thigh. Obviously not thinking that this target here is wide open. And it goes right across. If it was a boiled egg, it would have taken the top off. It was a really nice kick. So now we've got a 10-8 round, in my opinion, for Wisse, not only because he got a clean knockdown, but also because he was fairly effective through the rest of the round. But he came in hard against Bulgari in that first round. And I think he was effective with the power shots that he landed. But 10-8 in the second, he's already now starting to slow down a little bit. And he's got good pressure. But Bulgari's he's a 5-round fighter. You see that adaptation already? Look at that. I mean, he throws the jab. Now he's adapted and he expects the kick to come. I mean, look at the finer details. Aren't they beautiful? Gets his head out of the way, not twice, and then straight in with the knees. So I think what we're learning from this fight is that, inside low kick, lovely. What we're learning from this first fight is that, Wisse can be very effective, but maybe not effective enough to get Bulgari out of there before 3 rounds are up. And then we're into the championship rounds, and it looked like Bulgari was coming on a bit stronger there. So I think the fact that this is 5 rounds might change this fight quite a bit, and I think Bulgari will play that game a little bit better than Wisse. Let's put it that way. Okay. So strikes by round. Obviously, as I said, you've got Bulgari winning the first round by 3 strikes, but it's not as much of a win if you look at how many strikes were thrown compared to how many landed. I mean, he's only landed 4 more strikes for, 17 is thrown? I'm not very good at quick maths. And I also would say, I did say that Wisse, I feel like he was more effective with those 19 shots that he landed than Belgari was with the 23 that he landed. But then the second round, although 16 shots were landed for Wisse, that head kick knockout is 10 strikes worth for me. So that's an easy 10-8 round. And then the volume that he was able to pour on in the third round was quite impressive. But my question is, would he have been able to maintain that over another 6 minutes, which is the question I guess we're going to find out if Belgari can get to that point. This is something else that was quite interesting. There's one stat of all of those that stands out to me, and it's not the one that's highlighted. It's the one across from it. Like, we're in double figures in all of those, but the one that isn't is 7 leg kicks from Yousri Belgari. It just seems unnecessarily low for someone that is notoriously quite good at chopping people down with low kicks from a distance. I don't know why that had dropped off so much. Maybe it was because Donovan Wisse got out of the gates fast and did damage to that lead leg. He didn't feel stable. Maybe the other reason was because Wisse is a power puncher and he didn't want to get caught on one leg. That would also make sense. But I think that might have been a worthwhile investment in that first round, getting after those low kicks early, because we can see that was one of the most effective things of Wisse. He only missed 3 out of 28. So that going into the next round, especially the next fight, especially with it being a 5-round fight, investing in the long game, low kicks and body shots, is going to take so much out of the fighter going into the championship rounds that it'll be effective. Good performance. Really fun fighter to watch and a really good rematch and 2 deserving fighters fighting for the vacant belt. Okay, where are we going next? Okay. So, like I said, have a quick drink. So, like I said, for whatever reason, Belgaroui wasn't throwing low kicks too much. And I don't know why, because if you go back to previous fights, like this is against Preteni, and again, he's got the height advantage. So it's not like it's a reach thing. I mean, he's fighting a guy here that's heavy lead leg power puncher, and he chops him up, and he does it really nicely, and he stays at distance. Like this guy, you can quite obviously see he's edging forward on his lead leg, and he's trying to slip to the outside of that jab. But he couples his jab so nicely with a low kick, and then he's out of the way, and he can counter missed low kicks with punches. I mean, this talks about his reach advantage. And obviously he's got a bit more of a reach in this one over Preteni, but he still fights like a taller fighter, and he's either out or he's in, and he crashes in behind sharp knees, which is something else that I think he can use really well against Wisse, because although he's got good side-to-side head movement, that's predominantly defensive for punchers. You don't slip into knees. It's a it's a risk if you're quite stationary in the midsection. You've got someone throwing knees at the center. So I think that's something that Bulgari can work into his game quite effectively. I'll show you a clip later. But as I was talking about the low kicks, like he just chops into that lead leg of Preteni over and over again, to the point where he actually breaks him a bit here. I mean, he almost knocks him off balance there, goes straight in with the knee. But watch this exchange, it's weird. It's like one low kick. Hang on a minute. There's a break. And he's going to throw another low kick. And Preteni's like, nah, I've had enough of this. It's just weird. And that's not the end of the fight. I mean, that's the first round. But then he continues on. And now, like, I talk about this all the time. You must be sick of hearing it. This leg has been targeted so much that feels like it's hot and cold and raw and sensitive, and it's just a horrible feeling when you've had your lead leg battered like that. So now everything that Preteni's thinking about is through a filter of lead leg pain. So whenever he sees Bulgari move, he's reactive because his lead leg might get hit again. And this was a nice trick, which I'm going to try on some poor person at the gym that I feel like I can catch with it. What Bulgari does is he does this like little kick with his back leg. So he gets the reaction from Preteni, but then he hops down immediately and brings the knee up the center line. It's so slick. It's such a nice little move because he throws the kick to get the reaction and then bam, straight up the top. Because the reality is if he'd have thrown a low kick and that had been checked, it would have been difficult to then turn his hip back over for a knee. Whereas in this situation, look at his lead leg doesn't really move too much. He goes kick, knee, straight up. Hips don't really twist too much. And like I said, the story's already been told around the battered lead leg. And again, he's reactive because he's blocking high because he wants his leg way out of the way. And look how high he brings his knee. Bulgari just goes straight underneath and chops it. Just additional things that he can bolt onto his low kick game. But he's got a good low kick game. I mean, I don't know what that was. He's like, I didn't like that. and there's that beautiful knee. And as I said, if he can stay at range and he can pick people off, then then he can start to. Oh, this is just an absolute shelling from a distance. Just before we move on to this, So if Belgari is able to keep at range and he's able to pick at Wisse from a distance and chop into that lead leg, and then he can start stitching those spearing knees into the midsection and up the center into the chin, then he starts making Wisse's like bob and weave style quite vulnerable because he's heavy on the lead leg because he's slipping and he's moving his head and hands side to side, but his solar plexus is moving, an inch side to side. It's not a great deal. So there's definitely opportunities for him to bring those knees up the center line, especially if he's got Wisse reacting to that low kick. And then, say for example, he has a good 2 rounds and he's got Wisse backed up against the ropes now, and he's chopped into that lead leg. He's able to crash into him with knees. Now he's able to then start peppering him with long range strikes, and there's a high volume of strikes that comes out of Bulgari. And it's good distance striking as well, but he makes people feel like he's miles away and they can't get to him. We've seen this with a lot of good long range strikers, and the variety as well in his shots is problematic because you just can't predict what he's going to do. Poor old Jakob Steinbaum was just overwhelmed by him. This is the end of the first round, and he's just getting absolutely lit up here. And you can see Bulgari's cruising, but now he's already got his opponent on the ropes. He's able to just kind of flow through these attacks and find gaps in their guard. And they just can't keep up with him. He's got such good conditioning that this over 5 rounds is really suitable to Bulgari and his style. He's just got to start well and get out the gates early because if he lets Wisse get ahead on the scorecards, if he drops him in the first round, if he drops him a couple of times, that's a huge deficit on points that he has to cover. But if he's beating him up to the body, if he's beating him up to the legs, if he's got him in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round and he's already hurt, you could quite easily see Bulgari taking over and peppering him, and looking more like the veteran fighter. 27-6 is Bulgari's record compared to 15-1 with Wisse. Slightly higher knockout percentage on Wisse's side, but still both good punches. I mean, you can see the damage that he's done here. That was done with a knee, which again, for someone whose head's down, they're slipping side to side. If you can time that knee up the center line, it's going to be a problem. So, Wisse's debut. This is why I'm talking about the slip counters. Now, obviously, Bulgari was already working the slip counters against him in the last fight. He was already working, so he was already feinting the jab to slip the right hand and start working the counters and stuff. You can see why it's so effective for him to start stitching his shots together. Like, he threw that single shot a lot of the time with Bulgari, like he wanted to knock him out with one punch. Whereas in these other fights, I mean, this was his debut in glory against Van Heekeren. And it was a barrage. It was the 3rd and 5th and 7th punches that were getting through, not the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It was, like you can see in these combinations. There's a beautiful slip there. Look, uppercut, bang, right up the center line. He's so good at getting his head off the center line, and he only needs a fraction as well to do it. I mean, look at this. We've got the privilege of having this slowed down, but think of this in real time. Think of this happening in real time. Unfortunately, I can't pull the replay back any further, but at this point, Wisse already knows that Van Heekeren's throwing a jab, because as I start moving this through, you can already see him slip into the outside. And that jab goes right over the shoulder. And Van Heekeren's still staring at where his head was. And what's lovely about this is it shows options in his game. He's not coming over the top with that right hand like he was before. He comes up the center line, which is perfect for someone that's closing distance and throwing knees. I mean, he could walk Bulgari onto that uppercut if he's able to slip the outside of that punch. And then same thing again. It's the left hook. It's a good punch to stitch on that right hand. He starts off with low kicks and he's chipping into the lead leg of Almeida here. But he doubles up this left hook so nice. There, bang, hurts him. And then goes again. And he just pumps that right hand for a second to set up the left hook. Bang, that's the clean left hook. And then pump, bang. Do you see this? They see the time difference on that second right hand? Let me just play that through slow. He's very quick when he's closing distance to finish. Right hand turn off, big left hook, catches him on the chin and tries to hit him again, but then he goes short right hand left hook again, brings his hands together so he can get around the side. Really impressive. Bang, look at that. Like these are all good shots when you've got someone that's closing the distance fast and they're coming in with high knees, because most of the time when someone's throwing knees, they're reaching with their hands to try and get a hand on the back of the head or to block whatever's coming. And if he's able to slip and counter and come around the side, Belgari's high on one leg with his knee forward. He could quite easily even be knocked off balance, if not knocked out. Talking about the knees of Bulgari, this is something else that he was effective with in the last fight, but only from covering distance. And the same situation I was talking about with Wisse slipping from side to side, because he wants to slip to the outside of that jab so he can counter. But again, his midsection's not moving a great deal. Now, Hagen was moving in and out. He was quite lively on his toes. And to save Bulgari throwing and missing, he was just meeting his midsection with knees as he closed in. Bang. Oh, right in the midsection there. And in again. Turned him off. But focused on the midsection, nothing else. And one more to the midsection. Like he's not coming up with knees to the head where he's going to be higher on his toes and easily off balanced. If we say he's coming in and bobbing and weaving, if he can clamp and catch him with one knee and go into the midsection, it's going to be a much safer and more powerful shot and much less likely to miss a bobbing and weaving slipping head. Like Bulgari doesn't want to. Hang on a minute. Bulgari doesn't want to become crashing in too high, because the power that Wisse's got could quite easily put him on the canvas. And like I said, one knockdown basically turns it into a massive deficit if you're talking 10-8 rounds from knockdowns. We're going to finish on Wisse, and I'm going to show you a couple more clips that I love. So this fight against Wilness really shows his ability to stay compact and slip. Look, here's another good example of him getting his head off the center line. Wilness throws a power right, and he slips right off the center line. Bang, hook, pivots to a kick, and then he's out of the way of the counter. So throwing heavy low kicks and getting out the way of the counters obviously is going to be preferable, but coupling them with his slips and counters as well will allow him to utilize that momentum, that rocking motion. You can see it there. It's so nice to watch. For MMA, Thiago Alves always used to stand out to me, be able to do this. Watch the way he rocks his body here. So hook, bang. It's that twist through his midsection. It creates so much torque. Like, think about that. Like, that rear shoulders pull back now. And then he's crossing. He throws his hand across to the midsection, and then he throws a real long hook. But he's already pivoting up on this foot here. Watch this. He brings that foot up to replace it and chop across. So even his base foot, as he's throwing the left hook to the body, is being re-established across the side. Right cross, left hook, little jog across with his feet, replants his lead foot closer and chops into that lead leg. And you can see how it hyperextends the knee of Wilness as well. Oh, that just, it hurts. You just know it hurts. Let's watch it one more in slow-mo. Long left hook, cross, hook, bang, chop. That is hours of bag work, making sure that technique's correct. Nice little slip hook. There's the chop again. I could play this through in slow motion because it's easy to miss a lot of this stuff. Inside low kick. Just, it's a constant work rate from him out front. But if he can, if he can start chopping, there's like slip again. Look at that. Look at the hand of Wilness just come over his shoulder. Slipped it. Bang. And Wilness, just to give you a bit of context, if you're unfamiliar with these guys, Jason Wilness walked Adesanya down and beat him up behind a high guard. He's a brutal fighter, really pushes people around, and he wasn't able to push Wisse around, which is why Belgari's got to be selective at where he targets. He's got to attack the legs because he doesn't want Wisse just to be able to rock and plant heavy on those legs. You can see how heavy he plants on that foot when he's throwing the low kick. So if Belgari can damage that lead leg in some way, he's definitely going to be able to nullify some of that movement. And then he's more stationary for those knees up the center line, because then his movement, his defensive movement, becomes more upper body than footwork. I'm just going to finish on this one because this is something else that Wisse can do to get him slightly ahead as well. He has excellent body shots. He really thunders shots into the body, able to get off the center line. I mean, this guy's already finished here. But I just think the steady pressure, not being as aggressive as he was in the first fight. I mean, that is a straight to the body that drops him clean there. Another good thing to counter for someone coming forward with high knees, catching them right in that solar plexus. This is just a short playlist, but it's just so nice, that counter shot, the danger of being high on your knees, the danger of not getting your head off the center line, and that is just a killer shot. Lovely. Almost catches him with the knee as well. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really makes a difference into the championship rounds, especially because, Belgaroui will get up from that. Bulgari will get up because he knows the title's on the line. Resilience increases as you go through the rankings. So to sum this fight up in a nutshell, if that's possible for me, because I do tend to talk a bit much, Belgari is gonna get walked down if he doesn't have something to establish the range and the distance. And that's going to be his straight punches. But then the danger of the straight punches is that Wisse is going to be slipping and coming around the sides, slipping, throwing hooks, slipping, throwing overhands, coming up center with uppercuts, chopping into that lead leg. So he's going to have to use other things. He's going to have to use his own low kicks to establish range. He's going to have to slow that forward progression of Wisse down. He's going to have to use his jab, but he could also use his jab as a feint to set up his low kicks. He's also got his knees, but if he comes high with his knees, he's going to be vulnerable because he's going to be high on his toes to that left hook coming around the side. And I wouldn't trade power knees for power punches with Wisse because he's got good accuracy on those hooks. So if I'm Belgari, I'm staying low and I'm spearing him into the midsection. I'm investing in the later rounds, same as I am with the leg. Beat up the leg, knees into the midsection, slow him down, and then can start looking for finishing shots. There's definitely ways for Belgari to finish this fight, but I think he has to wear on Wisse a little bit. Whereas Wisse, I think, he could club up Belgari with a couple of shots or invest enough in that lead leg to be able to set him up for that high kick again. I don't think Belgari will fall for that twice, and the reason I like this rematch is because they already know each other for 3 rounds. It's like a 5-minute conversation getting to know someone. It's like, I kind of know them. But now we're going to sit down for an hour and record a podcast. They'll know each other much better after these next 5 rounds, if it goes that long. This is for the vacant middleweight championship at Glory 78. We'll be streaming the prelims on our channel, so make sure you watch out for them, and we'll be posting a link to the pay-per-view very soon after that. Get on board. This card is absolutely loaded. I am excited to be previewing it. Enjoy. I'll see you next time.